Well, good evening, everyone. We'd like to call our Monday, April 10th, Fayetteville City Council meeting to order. Welcome to all of you who are joining us in the audience, those who are joining us remotely. At this time, we will have our prayer. We'll ask that Pastor Angela Marks, with his hands outreach, she would come to the podium. Good evening, Pastor. We ask that all would please stand for the prayer immediately following, if we could repeat the Pledge of Allegiance. Good evening, Pastor.
Good evening. Let us pray. Dear Lord, maker and creator of all things, we are grateful for another opportunity to gather in your presence for America's can-do city that we love so much, Fayetteville, North Carolina. We are thankful for grace and mercy that continues to shine throughout our community. We invite you in this meeting. We ask that you give the mayor, city leaders, staff, city council, and citizens wisdom so they may solve problems, distinguish between right and wrong, and bring order, stability, and prosperity to our community. Lord, open the hearts and minds of each and every individual. Allow their hearts to be soft and tender towards one another and ears attentive to listen. May the spirit of justice and mercy rule in each and every heart so that we may be known as a city that prospers from the influence of just men and women. May the well-being of others be our common goal as we are attentive to the needs of others and share their burdens and come to their aid. May we treat everyone with mutual respect, fairness, and love, and let our love bring them hope, encouragement, freedom, and equality to all. Father, we seal this prayer with the words of Apostle Paul in 1 Timothy chapter 2, verses 1 through 2. I urge then, first of all, that petitions, prayers, intercession, and thanksgiving be made for all people, for kings and all those in authority, that we may live peaceful and quiet lives in all godliness and holiness. These things we ask in the name of Jesus. Amen. Flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, thank you, Pastor. It was a powerful prayer. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your ministry.
My name is Angela Marks. I am an awesome employee of the city of Fayetteville. I work in the solid waste department, and I'm grateful to serve our great city. I'm also a children's pastor, youth pastor here in our city. I serve many of the churches across all kind of denominations here in the city of Fayetteville, specializing in youth and children. And I'm honored to say I am an international children's ministry leader.
Well, thank you. All right, moving right along. Council, we have a few announcements and recognitions. At this time, we would ask that Ms. Faith Bomer, the Prevention and Volunteer Coordinator, and members of the Child Advocacy Center Board, if you could meet me at the podium at this time.
Mayor has a proclamation for the Child Advocacy Center, and as he's presenting it, I'll read it. Whereas the Child Advocacy Center was founded in 1993 by a group of concerned local professionals seeking to coordinate services for child abuse victims and their families, and whereas the CAC received 808 reports of child abuse and neglect during fiscal year 2021 and through 2022, and completed 569 forensic interviews for child victims of sexual and physical abuse, and whereas child abuse and neglect not only cause immediate harm to children, but is also proven to increase the likelihood of criminal behavior, substance abuse, and long-term health problems such as heart disease, obesity, and diabetes, and whereas research also shows that parents and caregivers who have social networks and know how to seek help in times of trouble are more resilient and better able to provide safe environments and maturing experiences for their children. And whereas the Child Advocacy Center coordinates multidisciplinary team case reviews where professionals from multiple agencies come together to plan the best course of legal and supportive action for the victim, and whereas effective child abuse prevention programs succeed because of partnerships created among citizens, social service agencies, schools, faith communities, civic organizations, law enforcement agencies, and the business community. And whereas our children are our most valuable resource, every child is precious and deserves to grow up in a healthy, safe, nurturing environment free from the threats, dangers, and harmful effects of child abuse and neglect. And whereas all citizens should become involved to provide safe, nurturing environments for children in all areas of their lives, at home, in school, and in the community, offering them the opportunity to grow up to be caring, contributing members of the community. And now, therefore, Mitch Colvin, Mayor of the City of Fayetteville, North Carolina, and on behalf of this City Council and more than 208,000 citizens, do hereby honorably proclaim the month of April in the year 2023 as Child Abuse Prevention Month. In witness whereof, Mayor Colvin hereunto set his hand and caused the great seal of the City of Fayetteville to be affixed this 9th day of February 2023. Mayor Colvin.
So as was said, my name is Faith Bamer, and I'm with the Child Advocacy Center as the Prevention and Volunteer Coordinator. And we are so appreciative to what the community's already done to include the proclamation tonight. We've been around our entire county and had 7 pinwheel plantings in the last 2 weeks. Each of those places received 1,000 pinwheels, so 1,000 times 7 equals 7,000, right? So, in addition to that, there's multiple people that have purchased pinwheel kits. I know Council Member Kathy Jensen has got some she's going to pick up soon. So there's plenty of pinwheels all around the community, and our hope is that when you see those pinwheels, you'll be reminded of those 808 children that we had a referral for, but also the children that have never had a referral, that are still sitting in their homes or in their schools, afraid to speak and to share. I do have some board members with me and then also a colleague with me, but we're just so thankful for what you do for our city and what you do for the Child Advocacy Center. Thank you.
Thank you all so much for what you do for the community as well. At this time, would ask that Ms. Lisa Reed, 911 Manager and fellow telecommunicators, in recognition of Telecommunications Week, if you can meet me at the podium at this time.
The mayor has prepared a proclamation for our 911 folks. Whereas emergencies can occur at any time that requires police, fire, or emergency medical services, and whereas when an emergency occurs, the prompt response of police officers, firefighters, and paramedics is critical to the protection of life and preservation of property. And whereas the safety of our police officers and firefighters is dependent upon the quality and accuracy of information obtained from citizens who telephone the Fayetteville Police Fire Communications Center. And whereas public safety telecommunicators are the first and most critical contact our citizens have with emergency services. And whereas public safety telecommunicators are the single vital link for our police officers and firefighters by monitoring their activities by radio, providing them information and ensuring their safety. And whereas public safety telecommunicators have contributed substantially to the apprehension of criminals, suppression of fires, and treatment of patients. And whereas each dispatcher has exhibited compassion, understanding, and professionalism during the performance of their job in the past year. Now, therefore, Mitch Colvin, Mayor of the City of Fayetteville, North Carolina, and on behalf of this City Council and more than 208,000 citizens, do hereby honorably proclaim April 9th through 15th, 2023 as Public Safety Telecommunicators Week. In witness whereof, Mayor Colvin has hereunto set his hand and caused the great seal of the City of Fayetteville to be affixed this 20th day of March in the year 2023. Mayor Colvin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, City Council members, City Manager, and guests. My name is Lisa Reed. I'm the 911 Manager for the City of Fayetteville's Police Department. I'm a 29-year employee with the City of Fayetteville, and I'm sorry to make this any bigger, so I know. There are more than 3,000 dedicated 911 professionals across the nation who work tirelessly around the clock, answering more than 7 million calls each year. Tonight, I have with me some of Fayetteville's finest telecommunicators. These highly trained and highly skilled employees receive over 6 months of training, possess 6 certifications to include CPR and the North Carolina Department of Justice Sheriff Standard Certification. They are the first units on the scene of an emergency, providing specific, detailed, life-saving instructions to the caller. These pre-arrival instructions can be as simple as controlling the bleed on minor cuts, or as complex as looking for amputated body parts in order to preserve them until first responders arrive. They are trained to assist in clearing airway passages during choking events. They may ask callers to lay the phone next to the patient, instruct them to put their arms around the waist of the patient, make a fist, and in one quick motion, jerk hard up into the stomach, a process known as the Heimlich maneuver. They may assist a childbirth delivery, providing as many as 40 instructions necessary for a safe sanitary environment, as well as ensuring the baby's airway is clear after exiting the womb. The sound of a baby crying after delivery is one of the most rewarding experiences the call taker will ever have. Unfortunately, cardiac arrest events are all too common, and critical factors such as CPR instructions are vital in survivability for the caller. Telecommunicators instruct the caller through chest compressions and use of defibrillator until help arrives. In 2022, through these life-saving pre-arrival instructions, telecommunicators contribute to 7 known CPR saves, 1 successful Heimlich maneuver, and delivered 2 babies. They also met the state's mandate of answering 90% of all 911 calls within 10 seconds for all 12 months, and the division managed to hire and train 20 new employees. Did I mention that we lost 50% of our workforce last year to the Great Resignation? Fire, police, and medics are definitely first responders, heroes, but during this week, National Public Safety Telecommunicator Week, we celebrate the City of Fayetteville's first responder. Thank you.
Ms. Reed. Ms. Reed. Let me just make sure I heard that correct. Did you say that you all responded to 7 million calls?
Across the nation.
Across the nation, okay.
Last year, we had 360 911 calls.
160,000?
60,000.
Okay. All right. All right, okay. All right, it's still a lot, but good job. Thank you all. All right, at this time, we'll go to Councilmember Ingram for an announcement, followed by Councilmember DJ Hare.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have 2 brief announcements. The first one is a notice of public hearing. It's going to take place on May 24th, but I think it's due just to get it marked on your calendars. The Fayetteville Public Works Commission will conduct a public hearing on system development fees and revisions to its service regulations and charges on May 24th, 2023, 8:30 a.m. in the PWC boardroom at 955 Old Wilmington Road. Persons wishing to be heard on the proposed fees and revisions to the service regulations and charges may appear at the public hearing or submit written comments in advance. This information can be found on PWC's website. Secondly, some amazing news was announced today at Fayetteville State. William J. Gillis of Fayetteville, North Carolina, committed $750,000 to the College of Humanities and Social Services to honor the simple act of kindness in troubled times. He was a former business manager at Fayetteville State, and with this, Fayetteville State will now create a Institute of Ethics and Leadership in the College of Humanities and Social Sciences. The gift will support activities such as university-developed ethics and leadership courses that will be integrated into core curriculum, an annual speaker series featuring prominent military, social, community, health, business, and political leaders who will address the importance of ethical behavior and leadership qualities, and annual ethics and leadership conference convened to explore ethical and leadership best practices. Fayetteville is a city of leadership and service, and so with this addition, I thought it was, important to share the great things that are coming out of Fayetteville State and being built within Fayetteville State. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilwoman Ingram. At this time, we'll go to Councilmember Banks McLaughlin.
Thank you, Mayor. I have two announcements. Tomorrow, the city, we have partnered with the Cumberland County, and we're going to host basic, intermediate, and computer skills classes throughout the year. The first class, again, is for tomorrow from 2 to 3:30, and that will take place at the Seabrook Recreation Center. And again, that's from 2 to 3:30. Also, the Cumberland County has a story walk on Tuesday at Lake Run Park, and that consists of a walk throughout the park. They have several displays for early literacy, science, technology, and engineering, and that's from 10 a.m. tomorrow at 2214 Tarkeon Drive, and again, that's Lake Run Park. Last but not least, the Fayetteville Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated will be hosting a Juneteenth celebration. It's a 5K run/walk. It is for Saturday, June 17th from 7:30 a.m. This event will take place at 301 North Cool Springs downtown. You can register or sign up at www.runsignup.com. Tickets are $30, and if anyone is interested in sponsorship, you can do so as well. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, great announcements. And so with that being said, we'll move on to the city manager's report. Mr. Hewitt. Okay, moving right along. Council item 6.0 is the approval of the agenda. Can we have a motion to approve?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to approve the agenda.
All right.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
All right, we have a motion by Councilmember Ingram, seconded by Councilmember Thompson to approve the agenda. We will try these iPads. Let's see if we're up to speed on that.
Yes.
Mine's not populating. Let's see. All right. All right, show of hands to approve. All right, Madam Clerk, it's unanimous, motion carries. Item 7.0 is the consent. Council look to you for action on consent. Motion by Councilmember Hondros, seconded by Councilmember Benavente. Any discussion on the motion? All right, Council, I'll look to you for your vote, show of hands for consent. All right, Madam Clerk, that motion carries, and we'll go with hands till this iPad pops back up. All right, moving right along to the public forum. This is the time that Fayetteville residents may have input and a voice in what goes on in their city. Due to policy restrictions, the forum will not last any longer than 30 minutes, and each speaker will be limited to a max of 3 minutes each to address the city council on issues related to the city of Fayetteville. Individuals wishing to speak at tonight's public forum should have signed up with the city clerk prior to the start of tonight's meeting. If you are here to speak on the items that may be on tonight's agenda under public hearing, I ask that you please reserve your comments until the public hearing section. Speakers, we ask that you will be courteous in the use of your language, your presentation. Please refrain from any personal attacks. Those seated in the audience, we ask that you please refrain from clapping, yelling, or audio expressions of approval or disapproval of the comments made during this time. Failure to abide by these rules may subject the offender to be removed from the council chambers. So when your name is called, we ask that the next two speakers, the clerk will call two names. She will call the speaker at hand, and she will call the subsequent speaker, who will remain at the clerk's desk until the conclusion of the current speaker. So when your name is called and when it's your opportunity to speak, please state your name and clearly state your address for the record. Your time will begin, and at 30 seconds, you'll be notified that you have 30 seconds remaining, and at the conclusion of your time, you'll be notified that your time has expired. Again, due to policy restrictions, we're unable to extend the given time or engage in any dialogue with the speakers. With that being said, just prior to the clerk's calling of that, I'd like to, there are a number of speakers that we have. I want to show courtesy and respect to everyone who's signed up. We have a little bit more than 36 who've spoken, so it's our goal to get everyone an opportunity to speak, but we ask that you please not take the entire 3 minutes if possible. The council policy is 30 minutes. We're going to push it a little bit just to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to speak, and we'll show some courtesy to that. With that being said, as we talk about the issues of tonight, I know one issue is the council request for a public hearing about the terms, the 2 or 4 year terms. Many of you here concerning that item. Just wanted to be clear, just so that if we're not able to respond, the way we got here, whether this is placed on a referendum or if it was done without the vote of the public, it still would start with a public hearing section, which is taking place tonight. So that is where we are. Regardless of what you've read or heard or may have thought, no decision has been made or voted on about it. The only decisions made were to have the public hearing, which we look forward to hearing from you all tonight. So look forward to a great hearing. Let's keep it respectful, and we'll try to move along to be courteous to all of the speakers.
And
That being said, Madam.
A small point of order, Mayor Colvin. I believe we have a public forum with just 9 folks.
Yes.
That's what we're going to have now.
Yeah. Apologies. Yeah, public forum was 9. Yeah, public hearing is 36. Same applies. But so with that, Madam Clerk, we'll get the first 2 speakers.
Yes, Mayor. We actually have 10 people signed up for the public forum. Our first speaker is Miss Ann Schrader, followed by Mr. Rick Ivansky.
Good evening, Ms. Schrader.
Good evening, Mayor Colvin and City Council. My name is Ann Schrader, and I'm the founder and owner of Eco Solutions, a local sustainability consultancy. And I've spoken in this forum a number of times to encourage a City of Fayetteville sustainability master plan. This critical and relevant plan is defined by meeting the needs of our city today without compromising the regenerative needs of nature or the generational needs of the future. A sustainable City of Fayetteville would also strive to balance social equity, environmental stewardship, as well as economic prosperity, known as sustainability's triple bottom line. This month's Earth Day recognition also comes at a critical time when the just released Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change report warns of the urgency in reducing the behaviors and impacts that are accelerating our environmental and climate crises, challenges that the United Nations Secretary General Guterres calls the defining challenges of our time. And the response to these challenges includes our federal, state, research triangle, and Fort Bragg's sustainability and climate initiatives and plans. And a sustainable City of Fayetteville would not only provide the needed environmental awareness, unified leadership, and bolder action in response to these challenges, but we would also reap the many benefits of sustainable policies and practices. And some of these include a more informed and innovative City of Fayetteville, a truly distinct, sustainable Fayetteville community, an all-American city that supports an equitably social, an equitable society, a sound environment, and a responsible economy. A city with lower waste, greater efficiency, and improved cost savings. An enhanced Fayetteville brand, improved resident and visitor affinity, and empowered action that strengthens our resiliency and climate adaptation. In closing, our investment in a sustainable city of Fayetteville is an investment in the health and well-being of our community, our environment, and our economy, now and for future generations. Thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you, Ms. Schrader.
Our next speaker is Mr. Rick Ivansky, followed by Mr. Charles Evans.
Good evening, Mr. Owanski.
Evening, Mayor, Council. Good evening. My name is Rick Iwanski, and I live at 2308 Colgate Drive here in Fayetteville, North Carolina. I'm here on behalf of my granddaughter, Jada Johnson. And I'd like to read from a prepared statement that I had at a press conference last Friday morning, referring to the civil complaint filed in federal court on behalf of the estate of Jada. And in that statement, I spoke directly to you, and I'd like to repeat some of that here tonight. Thank you for your leadership recently regarding mental health response here in Fayetteville, and I speak to the entire council. Thank you. Very soon, you will be asked to make a decision of grave importance. You will be asked to provide taxpayer funds for the defense of the men in this case. We implore you, we the taxpayers, we implore you to refuse these men any relief, comfort, or succor at taxpayer expense. Today, in this case, you can confidently set aside the responsibilities of agencies securing the knowledge that they violated your written procedures and manipulated the situation to its horrible outcome. It is they who violated agency by having a clear disregard for highly acceptable law enforcement standards of conduct, by not following your written procedures, and misrepresenting the city and the city's well-established policies and guidelines. I realize for some of you this is an ethical dilemma, and for others you clearly cannot allow your constituents to pay for something you personally and professionally find offensive. It cannot be denied that the ethical dilemma goes deep into morality and law, attempting to strike a balance between the two and test the obligations of agency. You have some serious critical thinking to do, both individually and collectively. And it won't be easy in this case. I wish you strength and wisdom and a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Charles Evans.
No, I saw former Commissioner Evans. I think he may be on the I think he was.
Mr. Mayor, he's on both.
Oh, it's on both. Okay. All right. Madam Clerk, you can go ahead. I think he's here for the other public hearing.
Okay. Mr. John Russell, followed by Miss Ashley Williams.
Is Ms. Williams here?
Mr. John Russell, followed by Miss Laverne Walker.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Russell.
Good evening, guys. How are you?
All right.
First, I would like to say thank you for allowing me to say my piece. I appreciate this, and this is like my third, fourth time up here already. I have some things that I would like to talk about today, and I hope that it can make a change in the community. Hello, my name is John Russell, and I was born in Brooklyn, New York. I was raised in Fayetteville, North Carolina. I attended Reed Ross Junior High and Terry Sanford High School. Fayetteville truly is a great city to raise a family. I admire the fact that 3 times I have come before this council, and 3 times I achieved what I set out to accomplish. By simply researching what I was advocating for and coming before the city council and asking for change, I got change. But just like any other small city, Where there is a warmth of Southern hospitality, Fayetteville has a looming criminal activity community as well. It is rooted in violence, gang activity, and narcotics. That too often leads to imprisonment, addiction, and death of so many of our residents. Growing up in Fayetteville, I've had my fair share of trouble. I was involved in the drug trade and have been a victim of gun violence myself. My early years on the streets as a teenager led me to multiple federal and state incarcerations. So I understand the mentality and stresses that can accompany a reentry individual back into society. Finally tired of the brushes with the law, I ultimately made a decision to use my negative behavior, experiences, and attitude with life to become a beacon of light and hope for generations up under me. As a 52-year-old African-American man, I have experienced a lot more than the average individual. God gave me a gift, but one of the best gifts he gave me was the ability to think outside the box. I love to hear about a problem and then come up with the equations to fix it. My weapons of choice are a pencil, paper, and ideas. From paintball, doggy training programs, and electric gaming leagues for inner city youth to the recreational programs for seniors and art clubs for children, I have helped build a better, safer Fayetteville by giving opportunity and guidance to the next generation of citizens. I know that my time is kind of dwindling down, so I'll cut it short. What I'm basically here for is a couple of things. One thing is that I would like to be recognized as an individual that supplies Narcan. My brother and sister died from opioid abuse, and we have a need to try to fix that problem here. I see a lot of people dying from it, and I would like I would like to sit down with you guys and maybe come up with a game plan that can help us attack this problem.
Thank you, John. And you and I have met before, so just contact Jennifer, and we'll make sure you get in and see what the protocol is to help with that. But good job, man. I've been knowing you a long time, so
yes, sir.
Definitely proud of you. Thank you.
I want to just give one last shout out to a brother that did come out here. He was from the gangs, and I told him about this thing, and he said, "Yo, I want to try to make a change." So Marquette, I want to give him a little shout out for coming out here because he wants to deal and help with us with the gangs. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
Miss Laverne Walker, followed by Miss Rhonda Shirley.
Good evening, Ms. Walker.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and the other city council members. I'm here on behalf of Hope Loop Road. I live at 1328 Hope Loop Road, mostly all of my life since 1964. So now you are, what I'm here for is to talk about the assessment that you're charging on vacant property and even the sewer line. And a lot of us on Hope Loop Road, it's always been country, and now it was changed to the city. But a lot of people don't have the money to pay $5,000 or the money to pay for the sewer line. And so I'm just here to speak not only for myself, but the people on Hope Loop Road who have to go through these changes with trying to get money to pay the assessment and money to pay for the sewer line on vacant property. I mean, it's enough just to pay the money for the property taxes on vacant property alongside of trying to come and charge us for the assessment and the sewer line. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. I think she must be talking about the PwC assessment, Mr. Manager. So there are some resources available that we'll make sure a staff member gets you. But thank you, Ms. Walker. Madam Clerk.
Miss Rhonda Shirley, followed by Miss Angela Tatum-Malloy.
Okay.
Seems Miss Shirley is not available.
Okay.
Miss Angela, followed by Miss Lizette Rodriguez.
Let me get this correct. Is this for the public hearing for?
This is the forum. The hearing is coming next.
Okay, and I'm signed up for that as well, correct? I just want to make sure. Okay, all right. Good evening, everyone. First, I wanted to thank the City of Fayetteville for providing, my name is Angela Malloy, and my address is 131 Hay Street. I want to thank the City of Fayetteville for providing a proclamation during Community-Based Doula Week. Last week, we did the event at the library. We had a well-attended in-person as well as online, not just across the state, but across the nation. And so I just want to thank you again. Fayetteville continues to be the only city that has had that designation in the state, so I want to thank you for that. I stand before you to speak against the city providing legal counsel for the officer that killed Ms. Jada Johnson. And I'm doing this in the midst of, we are currently in Black Maternal Health Week. It runs now until April 19th. And again, you've heard me speak about the connection with Jada Johnson, connected with Black Maternal Health Week, Black Mental Health Week as well. And it would just be a really disservice to know that our city is supporting officers, as Mr. Rick said, that did not follow what I believe you wanted the officers to follow in carrying out their duties. And I know that it is within your authority and your discretion to decide if you're going to provide that legal counsel. And so I'm hoping that you will consider just the whole event that happened. Mr. Aronski has been before you explaining and, pouring out his heart to you in trying to, and he's been very respectful as he addresses you, probably more so than I would have if it was my grandchild. And so I'm hoping that you will take that into consideration and really do the right thing and not request the city tax dollars to go towards providing legal counsel. And I'm going to defer my time so that others can speak. Thank you.
Thank
Our
you.
next speaker is Ms. Lizette Rodriguez, followed by Mr. Robert Walls.
Good evening, Ms. Rodriguez.
Sorry. Hello, Council. Hope you guys are doing well. Firstly, I wanted to thank all of you who attended our Office of Community Safety Town Hall a few weeks ago. I'm happy to report that by our group's estimate, we had over 100 people attend our event. And for those who weren't able to attend, by now I hope you have taken the time to review our PowerPoint presentation that I emailed to all of you. And I talked with many of your constituents that night, and there was overwhelming support from citizens about establishing an Office of Community Safety. So I'm asking for it to be brought up at the next work session, if possible. According to policescore.com, from 2012 to 2021, there have been 55 use of force complaints against the Fayetteville Police Department. 0 of them have ruled in favor of civilians. There has also been 65 reported complaints of police discrimination. Again, 0 ruled in favors of civilians. How these complaints were investigated and what they entailed are a mystery because this police department lacks transparency. In addition to mental health response, violent interruption programs, homeless resources, transparency, and the establishment of an independent oversight body is yet another issue that an OCS would help solve. So why am I mentioning this to you? Well, because soon you will be asked to provide taxpayer funds for the legal defense of Officer Zacharias Borum and Sergeant Timothy Rugg. As everyone on this council knows, Officer Borum shot and killed 22-year-old Jada Johnson 17 times from behind during a mental health crisis right in front of her grandparents and her 2-year-old daughter. For citizens who might be unaware, the city of Fayetteville is also named in this federal lawsuit against those 2 officers. So now it is time for all of council to pick a side. Are you going to defend her killer, Officer Borum, who shot this poor woman 6 times from behind after Sergeant Rugg had already tackled her to the ground and secured her arms, and then while she was lying in her own blood and still breathing, shot her another 10 times? Just to give you all a quick sense of how quickly those rounds must have been fired. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, pause. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Are you willing to go down with the ship and use taxpayer monies to support the recklessness of the Fayetteville Police Department, or will you renounce these horrifying and disgusting actions and stand up for justice? Thank you.
Our next speaker is Mr. Robert Walls.
Good evening, Mr. Walls.
Mr. Hare, I'm in Mr. Hare's district. Council members, Mayor, fellow Americans. Main thing I want to talk about is driving the authority by the consent of the governed. 3-minute sound bites is an injustice to the people that want to speak here. There are many topics that require more than just a 3-minute sound bite that the majority of you are just going to ignore. I've requested State of the City quarterly forums, which you can more than do, so that residents have a forum where they can actually address their elected representatives. Not simply a representative autocracy, an actually elected representative. That's what I have to say about that topic. In regards to the police officer, who here has been in a firefight? Anyone else? So a few of us have. So unless you've been in a firefight, you don't know what it's like in that situation. I'm not here to judge guilt or innocence, but I am here to make sure that you do what's right. So if you are obligated to provide a defense, then provide a defense. If you're not obligated, then consider what everyone else said. Thank you for your time.
We have no further speakers for the public forum.
All right. So with that, we'll move on to the public hearing. Again, at this time, we're preparing to hold hearings where the City Council formally seeks your input. Individuals desiring to speak in the hearing must have signed up to speak with the city clerk by name and address before the beginning of tonight's meeting. We will begin with a staff presentation on each particular item. 15 minutes will be allowed for those in favor and those opposed of the item. Individual speakers are limited to 3 minutes each unless by previous arrangement where a single spokesperson has been designated. In that case, the spokesperson may use the entire 15 minutes. Again, when the clerk calls your name, please come to the podium. We will do the same format as we did for the public forum. When the clerk calls your name, please come to the podium. Please state your name and address for the record, and you may then address the city council. At 30 seconds, you'll be notified by a buzzer or a bell, and at the conclusion of your allotted time, you'll be notified that your time has expired. With that, we'll stop and move to item 9.01. Mr. Hewitt, do you have a staff member explain this item? Or is that legal?
Mr. Mayor, this is the public hearing on the 4-year staggered terms. Would you like for me to come to the podium?
Yes, ma'am.
I didn't really mean you.
Got Attorney McDonald from behind the seat. Attorney McDonald, good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and members of council. If you'll bear with me just a minute. Thank you, Mayor and council. Back in March 6, 2023, the council at your work session discussed moving to 4-year terms, and the consensus was that the council would consider that. The process is outlined in statute 168-102, the first step being the adoption of a resolution of intent to set a public hearing. Tonight is your public hearing to consider feedback from the public regarding the change to 4-year staggered terms. This item has been noticed in the newspaper, and each citizen or each speaker is allowed up to 3 minutes to speak. Unlike your zoning public hearings, the speakers have simply signed up, much like your budget public hearing or other public hearings where speakers, come one, come all, have 3 minutes to speak. At the conclusion, the council will close the public hearing, and then at your next meeting on April the 24th, council may consider what action it wishes to take as it relates to this item. Are there any questions?
I do have a question from Councilmember Ingram.
Thank you, Madam Attorney. Similar to what I asked you upstairs, for the audience here and listening audience, can you express what is fact by what our general statute guides of what can happen so that everything is fully clear, what can and cannot happen?
If I understand your question correctly, the council cannot make a decision any earlier than your first regular meeting after the public forum, after the public hearing. So that would be at your April 24th meeting. At that time, council could vote to change the terms to 4-year staggered terms. The council could make the change to 4-year staggered terms contingent upon a referendum, meaning that this item would have to go to the ballot. Or the council could adopt to make no change. Should the council elect to utilize the first option, which is to vote to make the change, then citizens could initiate a referendum by gaining the necessary 5,000 signatures in order to put it on the ballot. So those are your options.
Thank you. And then I'm going to ask a follow-up question so that maybe all questions get answered. How is it that the council can choose the first option?
That is set forth in the statute, again, as I referenced before, 168-102.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. So with that, we will open the public hearing. Madam Clerk?
Yes, Mayor, we have 37 speakers signed up for this item. Our first speaker is Mr. Bobby Grantham, followed by Miss Yvonne Kinston.
Okay.
Mr. Bobby Grantham.
Good evening, sir.
My name is Bobby Grantham. I've been living at 3215 Rogers Drive for over 30 years. I'm here in non-support of 4-year term extensions. I'm here totally in support of term limits. I mean, if 2 is good enough for the President of the United States, who do y'all think y'all are? Now, that being said, I think we visited this prior to this public meeting about the public having a vote on term extensions, and we said no. So I guess the real question is, how do y'all have the audacity and the gall to stranglehold democracy? Thank you.
Thank you. And come on, former Councilmember Kinston. And just to clarify again, no decision was made. This is part of the statute which opens up the public hearing, which we are tonight. So there was not a vote taken or any action taken yet. Good evening, Madam Kinston.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. Yvonne Kinston, 452 Lyndhurst Drive, Fayetteville, North Carolina. I'm humbly standing before you, asking you to consider a few facts before completing your vote. On behalf of the Greater Sand Hills Central Labor Council, I'm reminded not too long ago we were campaigning, phone banking, knocking on doors, and sending flyers and doing polls asking our constituents to vote. Looking at this as a different perspective, as a terms of employment, I don't know any employee that would tell their employer that I'm writing my own evaluation in the terms of the employment, because that's exactly what you're doing if you decided to not send a referendum. Would you wait 4 years to do a job performance evaluation of employee? Absolutely not. The fact remains, I believe in democracy, and so does the Central Labor Council. And we would say the citizens deserve a vote. 1 man, 1 vote, 1 woman, 1 vote. And we ask you to send this to a referendum. There's no significant cost with the staggered terms in the odd years. We already have an issue with low voter turnout. During the mayor's electoral race, there's 5 districts with the elections with minimum costs. And therefore, we're asking for you to consider to send it to a referendum, give the citizens a vote, and let us decide what the terms could be. The Greater Sand Hills that oversees unions and working individuals is asking this. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Miss Pam Meadows, followed by Mr. Alex Rodriguez. Miss Pam
Is
Meadows.
Ms. Meadows here? Okay.
Mr. Alex Rodriguez, followed by Miss Pandora Hannerington.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. I'll be brief this evening. Thank you for letting us speak. I'm here to speak out against the proposal to extend city term limits and stagger the elections. First off, you've all heard the expression, if it ain't broke, why fix it, right? Same idea here. Countless others and myself, this comes off as a power grab, plain and simple. Greedy politicians who want to extend their stay without going through the public and campaigning to the people why you should keep your job every 2 years. It's plain laziness, in my perspective. Let's see, crime, homicides, violence are up in the city in the last 2 years, yet you want to keep your jobs longer. Property taxes are being raised as a result of the referendum, which is one-sided. We didn't get to hear the opposite of the referendum. And it's in the middle of a recession. We're raising property taxes. The projects in that referendum should have been funded already in the city budget in previous years. The city budget, even though the city budget's at an all-time high, these weren't. They were getting few productive results from the city budget, even though its spending's at an all-time high. There's definitely no internal accountability or transparency, as many other people have mentioned. For example, whatever happened to the allegations brought up by former Councilwoman Tisha Waddell? Last I heard, it was sent to the Ethics Commission and died. Died in the Ethics Commission. Nothing ever came out, publicly or privately. So it's not the current terms that are broken, it's the inability of the city council in the current time it has to do anything productive. Therefore, I'm recommending it. What you should all be considering is discussing municipal term limits. No more than 4 two-year terms in a combination of city council and or mayor, served consecutively or broken, as long as it's no more than 8 years. Thank you for your service. For those of you who have been there longer, thank you for your service. Complete your term, get out, do something else. And again, without retirement or pension, because this, what term limits does is it keeps dumb ideas from being brought forward. No retirement or pension. The case for term limits is straightforward. The council or any other legislative body cannot be trusted for too long with too much power. That's why the U.S. president only has 2 8-year terms or 2 4-year terms. Governors of 36 states, including North Carolina, have term limits. 15 states impose term limits on legislators. 9 of the 10 largest cities in the country, including New York and LA, have term limits, and also term limits for the city councilors. So, again, look what happens without term limits. You have the U.S. Congress and the U.S. Senate, and what's getting done there. Thank you very much.
The next speaker is Miss Pandora Harrington, followed by Miss Caitlin Potts. Miss Harrington, not here. Miss Caitlin Potts.
Good evening, ma'am.
Hello, my name is Caitlin Potts and I live at 2940 Bakers Mill Road. It's come to the attention of our city that our council was given this idea by first-term Councilman Derek Thompson to not only extend their 2-year terms to 4, but to also stagger them where half will have their elections on even years and the other half will have their elections on odd years. What is so weird about this is that this is coming from someone who's on the council for the first time ever, not someone who's been on here for a really long time. This appears to be in a careless attempt to have more power by someone who's new to local government. I know y'all haven't voted on it yet, but it's been approved to even talk about it. There's already immense voter apathy in this town, and if the terms are staggered to both odd and even years, there's going to be more confusion among voters, let's be real, as even every 2 years, people do not vote in mass numbers for city council and can't name their district or who is in the council and whether if they even live in the city in the first place. It only takes a quick look at the recent voting statistics from 2022 and prior to figure that out. We all know most people in this town don't vote. People don't get involved, and if you extend the terms, that's just going to make that issue worse because we want more involvement. Whenever I try to talk about this issue towards someone, they say, there was an election, or reply, no, I did not hear about that when I try to even talk about this. I'm so disappointed with this council for even considering such an idea, as it's hard to fathom how this could benefit the city. However, it doesn't take that much complex thinking to understand how it would benefit each council member individually if this were to be proved without referendum. Would your public service wages increase? Will you have to worry about campaigning less often? Will you have to more time, do whatever you want regarding projects you prioritize to benefit your networking? Be honest, how will this help Fayetteville? More importantly, it shouldn't matter what the council thinks about the referendum. Rather, it should matter that the legal citizens of Fayetteville should be the ones thinking about it. We voted on a few during the last city council election. Shouldn't this also be on the ballot? Right, because what a certain council member said a few weeks ago, because we don't have to. Why? Why do you not have to? That attitude implies apathy. And to those that are planning on voting for this, all I feel is shame. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Mr. Chelenko Hurst, followed by Ms. Christina Aguiles. Mr. Chelenko Hurst. Right here. Ms. Christina. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, who's after Ms.?
Ms. Linda Gibson. Is Ms. Gibson here? No. Mr. Melvin Lewis.
Okay.
Thank you,
right.
sir.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Aricos.
Christina Ottawes, 205, yeah, it's Ottawes, 205 Queensberry Drive, Fayetteville, North Carolina. First, I just really want to say this room full of people coming to this public hearing is amazing. I see ladies in blue, children, parents, grandparents, and so many people that came here specifically for this hearing. I reached out to, gosh, I don't know, like 50, and at least half are here. What is that indicative of? We do care. A lot of us watch. I've watched city council meetings online. I don't come in person. I trust certain individuals in our town that come every week to tell me what's going on and your wonderful video cast, right? But we do care about this issue, and we are all voters that are in this room. We are all people that work at the polls. There are several people here I see. Democrats, Libertarians, Republicans, we're all here. Everyone that works at those polls and tries to get people to vote for all of you, and a few of you know I've helped you at the polls, we're here because this matters. It has already been put on the ballot several times. Why are we wasting time talking about it tonight? I would rather be talking about the Office of Community Safety. I'd rather be talking about, all of the waste of taxpayer money. And I know how much taxpayer money you guys said that this could save. It won't, because you still have to have other elections, other things come up. All it will show to us, if any of you vote yes for this and push this forward, is that you're not listening to your constituents, that you're not listening to the voters. And that is huge. I found a lot of the comments in the videos I've watched recently condescending to us. Some of them, of course, heartening, because I know not all of you agree on not putting this on the ballot. But huge issues like this go on the ballot. And the countries and places that don't and haven't done this are Eastern Europe, South America. That's where dictators, they get in office and say, you know what, next time this should be a 6-year term. Next time, this should be an 8-year term. That's where it happens. It shouldn't happen here in Fayetteville, where most of us have fought for liberty and freedom. We all want to vote. Give us that vote. Don't take that from us. Thank you.
Mr. Melvin Lewis, followed by Mr. Louis Rojas.
Good afternoon,
Good
Mayor,
afternoon, sir.
City Council members, and other officials. My name is Melvin Lewis. I live at 7512 Quebec Court in Fayetteville. I'm a 25-year resident of Fayetteville. I'm here today to support the idea of 4-year terms because of the cost savings. If the election costs approximately, with inflation, close to $200,000. If we had 5 elections in 20 years as opposed to 10 elections in 20 years, that's a possible $1 million cost savings where we wouldn't have that cost every 2 years for election instead of having it 4 years. And I think we could use that money for other resources in the cities to generate other cost savings, such as solar energy or other things. I think what you're doing a great job, but I think we could save some more money if we had it every 4 years and not staggered. But that's why I'm here, and I appreciate what you do, and thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Louis Rojas.
Roja.
Not here. Miss Rose Gallagher, followed by Miss Melanie Lewis.
Good evening, Ms. Gallagher.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members and our community. My name is Rosa Gallagher. I have lived in Fayetteville for 35 years. I'm originally from Texas, and first terms should be left up to the voters of Fayetteville, just like in every other community in the United States. I understand that this has been brought up before the people 4 other times, and it was defeated every time. Now we, the people, we, the voters of this county, should determine the council members' term limits. There is unity in representing the wishes of the voters. Please, council members and mayor, let's be proactive and not reactive. Time and action are precious, essential for all of Fayetteville, and in order to have a positive impact in this community, our community, let's all come together and go forward. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Miss Melanie Lewis, followed by Miss Deborah Barton. Melanie Lewis, Deborah Barton, followed by Catherine Harley William.
Good evening, Ms. Lewis?
No, I'm Deb Barton.
Okay, Ms. Barton.
So that was my introduction. I'm Deb Barton. I'm also, and I live at 507 Halifax Drive. I'm also the president of the Cotton Aid Community Watch, which is a small community just outside of Fort Bragg, about 864 homes in that area. This was brought up at our community watch meeting because some of our people insist on bringing up all sorts of stuff. I can assure you that the consensus opinion is what I'm sharing tonight. I do want to thank you for the opportunity to speak before you on the matter of changing from 2 to 4-year terms. I think it's very necessary to get input from the citizens, and I think that input should be in the form of a referendum. Any important decision regarding the structure of our elected governing body should be voted on by the citizens. I know it was suggested by at least one council member that it could be done without input or a vote of the people, which was substantiated by the city attorney tonight. I think that is somewhat arrogant to not give this to the community for the decision. It's also been suggested that 4-year terms would save money, but if it's staggered terms, it's not going to save the city a dime. It was also mentioned that 4-year terms would provide a greater continuity. I would suggest that re-election provides for continuity, which is a substantiating of the voters in your district to say, yes, you're doing a good job for us and we want you to continue. And I think that is evident because several of the people before me tonight have served many more than 2 or 3 terms. It was also suggested that it took 3 to 4 months to get to know your job. I would suggest that if I took 3 to 4 months to get to know my job, my behind would have been kicked out the door long before that. So currently, I would say that this needs to be a referendum before the people. I know there's pros and cons for both, but please educate the public on what those pros might be and give it to us as a referendum. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Miss Catherine Harley William, not present. Mr. Peter Pappas, followed by Mr. Richard Van Wy.
Good evening, Mr. Pappas.
Evening. So, good evening, Council. I'm Peter Pappas. I reside 1603 Fort Bragg Road. Mayor Pro Tem, me and you are neighbors now. So, I come tonight to address my opposition to extending your terms. First, let me tell you about a little book I read that I wish all of you had. Back in 2009, when our economy crashed, there was a book by Jim Collins published, and it detailed 5 stages of failure. It was titled How the Mighty Fall. So congratulations, Council. You're now at stage 2. Stage 1, hubris, born of success. You won your previous election, and now you think you're somebody. And now, stage 2, undisciplined pursuit of more. I've seen attempts to deflect poor decision-making because some of you proclaim I'm not a politician. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you're sitting on the council. You are a politician. I'm also a politician. I ran for office as well, but I tell you what, I know what I am. I'm a politician who lacks diplomacy. It is hubris to think you've won an election that you don't need the people's input to increase your terms. That's deplorable and it's wrong. Changing your term from 2 to 4 years was defeated in a referendum in 2018, and I believe if you were to put it back on a referendum, you'd find the same result. Your justification of a 2-year term being just 12 months of actual work before you have to start campaigning again, it's a pack of lies, and it's pathetic to its core. You all are locally elected politicians. Campaigning is more than sitting on your duff at a polling place and handing out slate cards. For a true representative, the campaigning never stops. Attending local meetings, attending commission meetings, representing this city, and representing the other half of people who did not vote for you. It's your job. A campaign is a sprint. Representation of the people is a marathon. I urge you to table this idea of extending terms, or at least have the bravery to put it to the people. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Mr. Richard Van Wy, followed by Mr. Robert Walls.
Good evening, Mr. Van Wy.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. My name is Richard Van Wy. I'm of Fayetteville Avenue, Fayetteville, North Carolina. I'm speaking in opposition to the change. In my opinion, 4 years is too long for city elections. Gives the city council too much influence over people and time for the people to promptly forget that blunder you made 3 years ago. Switching to evening years gets our local elections overlooked because all they're going to do is pay attention to the national issues. They're not going to be paying attention to what we're doing here in Fayetteville. The cost of city elections, like taxes, that's the price of doing business. First year spent learning the job, okay? Show me a job where you don't have a learning curve. The second year having to campaign to get reelected. If you're more worried about campaigning to get reelected, then it seems to me you aren't as interested in helping the citizenry as you are in holding office. If you're doing your job and doing it well, then your actions will speak for themselves and the people will keep you in office if you desire to run for reelection. Lastly, talking to the point of just having the state legislature do the changes to get around the people of Fayetteville. The last time something like this was attempted was with the Big Bang annexation. With the exception of Mr. DJ Hare here, Councilman Hare, everyone on the city council from the mayor on down was out of office within 2 cycles. Just saying.
Our next speaker is Mr. Robert Walls, followed by Ms. Lizette Rodriguez.
Again, Mr. Walls.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. I oppose any extension that doesn't come with term limits. We hold these truths to be self-evident. Everyone's familiar with it. You know how that paragraph ends? Derive just power from the consent of the governed. That's a referendum. That's not a vote by all of you. You've heard the term representative autocracy. That's exactly what a representative autocracy does. The difference between a constitutional republic and a banana republic, one has a referendum, the other votes for themselves. Every decent American should oppose, anytime a group of people decide to extend their terms and their power. That is not what America stands for. That's not what the city should stand for. Any extension of terms, if considered, should have term limits. Term limits stop dictators from controlling an environment. They stop one-party politics. They ensure standards are present in a city. One standard for every American, not multiple standards, not identity politics, not what currently grasps this city. The issues in this city are as bad as they are because people aren't paying attention. They're not paying attention. 3-minute sound bites. I already addressed that. Governing yourself and extending your terms. You might as well vote yourself a raise while you do it. I motion that any extension comes with term limits. Does anyone want to second that? Who on this council will forward that motion? I'll wait in the back for your terms, for your response to that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Ms. Lizette Rodriguez, followed by Mr. Carrie Berg.
Hello again, Council. I want to begin my time with a quote. It's a miscarriage of justice to not let the citizens have a voice on it. This is a direct quote from Mayor Colvin from back in 2018 when the Fayetteville Observer was reporting on the potential of a 4-year council term. In May 2016, the council voted on a resolution for 4-year terms, and it did not pass. In April 2017, the council voted on a 4-year terms, and it did not pass. And finally, in 2018, it was put on the ballot as a referendum, and 65 of the voters rejected the idea of a 4-year terms. So if we want to save the city money, well, I suggest we look somewhere else to cut funds, not our democratic elections, because many studies have shown that there is a direct correlation between higher election funding and increased voter turnout. In the 2022 election, Cumberland County had the 4th lowest voter turnout in the state. We also rank 77th out of 83 for the amount of money spent per voter. So my question to all of you, what has changed between 2018 and now? And why is this the most pressing issue for all of you? Because I would love to be standing here having a public hearing about establishing an Office of Community Safety instead. And I know a lot of your constituents would agree with me. So I'm asking you to either table this or put this on the ballot for the people to decide. And if you do not, I'm sure myself, the organizations I work with and volunteer for, and the majority of the other constituents behind me would be more than happy to gather the 5,000 signatures needed and go through the proper process to get this as a referendum on the ballot. This past November, I helped use my marketing and social media skills to help defeat that Vote Yes referendum, and I promise you I will do the same to defeat this again.
Madam Clerk?
Mr. Carrie Berg, followed by Miss Bobby Burgess.
Good evening, Mr. Byrd.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. I'm Kerry Berg. I live at 3213 Mesquite Drive in District 6, and I'm against the proposed change of the increase to council terms. If this moves forward, I am in favor of a referendum for the voters to decide. And just because council has the authority by a vote to pass this issue doesn't mean it's the right way to do it. The voters should make that important decision. I recall in a previous election that a referendum to change the council makeup, it had a strong resistance from council to be put on the ballot, did get on the ballot as it should have been, and the end result was by the voters there's no change in the makeup of the city council. Again, the voters made that decision, and regardless of the outcome, voters should make a decision on extending the council terms. Thank you.
Miss Bobby Burgess, followed by Mr. Charles Evans.
Good evening, Ms. Burgess.
Evening, Mayor, council members, community behind me. My name is Bobby Burgess. I live at 2108 Constitution Drive here in Fayetteville. And I want to start with reading something from the city website, if you will. The city of Fayetteville adopted the council manager form of municipal government in June of 1949. If you scroll further down, you'll hear that citizens are both stakeholders and customers. The elected body represents the board of directors, and the manager is the chief executive officer responsible for the daily operations of the so-called corporation. And as a stakeholder today, I'm here to talk about this 4-term limit change for council members. As a voluntary transplant to the city from metropolitan areas such as Chicago and San Francisco, one of the things I've come to really admire is the can-do attitude of this city, and how the people are both gritty, resilient, passionate. But one thing I've also learned is that the people of this city are not ignorant. Far from it. And trying to hide this term limit change behind closed doors is very clearly a power grab. And everybody in this room can see it and are speaking to it this evening. And furthermore, why do we need 4 more years? Like, what is that all about? Why do you need more time? You would get 4 more years if every 2 years you get reelected. Boom, that equals 4. 2 + 2 = 4. You don't need a 4-year term off the bat. That's ridiculous. But if we have to do it, why are we voting on it unilaterally? Is it maybe because you know the public won't say yes, like they haven't like the 5 other times? See, I'm just like greatly disappointed, as like I said, a transplant from bigger cities, that this is even on, like, that we're even talking about this right now, and like whether or not it can be a referendum, because like it needs to be on the ballot. There shouldn't be like an if or should. No, like it needs to be if it has to be. Anything otherwise is slimy, it's unethical, and it's just simply not professional. So I need to remind you all, council members, that as stakeholders, we are watching. As stakeholders, we are taking notes. And as stakeholders, we will use our voice to express our displeasure should this matter be passed behind closed doors. Some of you might be losing your seat in this upcoming election if you do that. So do the right thing. If you must revisit this topic for the 6th time, it needs to be on the ballot. That is it.
Mr. Charles Evans, followed by Mr. John Kozowski.
Good evening, former Commissioner Evans. How you doing?
I am good. It's good to see each and every one of you. My council member, Shaquille Ingram, and I am Charles Evans. And I'm from 926 Fleetwood Drive, Fayetteville, North Carolina, and it is an honor and privilege to stand before you tonight. You know, I also would like to recognize former Councilwoman Juanita Gonzalez, who is here tonight as well. And the reason I'm glad she's here, but we had the same fight about years ago with Councilman Hare. We had this same fight pretty much years ago. I notice I said years. And when I was on council, I made some gaffes. You know, when I was a freshman councilman, I made some gaffes. But one gaffe that I did not make, and I tried very hard not to make, is to omit the citizens of this great city. I tried very hard to make sure that they was included in anything that I would bring before the council for the city of Fayetteville. And I think that, but before I go to what I think, let me tell you what I do know. I just came off a board for 12 years, and I'm one about term limits. I do believe in term limits. So I served three terms on the Cumberland County Board of Commissioners. If I had been around when the Board of Commissioners were developing and started to come up with rules and regulations, I would have voted against 4-year terms. We have individuals that stay on there for a lifetime. Don't give other individuals the opportunity to serve if they want to serve because they know they're comfortable in their seat and they're going to get reelected each and every time. And that's not fair to those individuals that want to run and do their part in serving this great county. There's more minds than one or two that know how to represent this county and this city well. Now, what I said earlier was that I tried my very best to be inclusive of all citizens. I said that to say, please don't take it upon yourself to make that decision for us. Please put that on the ballot. As one young lady said, we're smarter than you think. So I beg you, I urge you, don't forget us. Because as somebody else said, they're going to remember you at election time. And some got family members that stay in some of all these districts. God bless you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for the job that you're doing. We appreciate you and the rest of the council members as well. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. John Kozowski, followed by Mr. Joseph Windley.
Good evening, I'm John Chakowski, and 5973 Tamworth Court is my address. And I speak in favor of 4-year staggered terms. Mr. Evans, who's a prior commissioner, he served 4 years. Our county commissioners served 4 years on staggered elections. He didn't look any different than you do. He didn't talk any different than you do, but yet the county, and we're all part of the city and the county. So I speak in favor of 4-year elections. With our elections turnout so low, 11%, I do think there is room to save money on elections by not opening up so many election early voting locations. Because if only 11% are voting, then that's sad, but perhaps you can save money by not opening up as many locations for early voting. I don't think the time made a difference, 26th of July, because people still had 3 weeks to vote, early voting. So I don't think that was an issue, time of year. But I do think that people have a fear of change. They fear change. And if the council doesn't support 4-year terms, you are the leaders, the people who listen to you and follow to you will not vote for it. So really, it's up to you whether the city goes to 4-year terms. And I say it should be voted on yes. But people have a fear of change because they don't want to leave their comfort zone. If I'm in my comfort zone, then I'll stay there. But somebody had to get me on that school bus the first time. Somebody had to send me to my first day of school. Somebody had to get me in front of a group of people to do a public address. Somebody did that. And I grew from it. I'll say comfort and the fear of change are the greatest enemies of success. Comfort and fear of change are the greatest enemies of success. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Our next speaker is Mr. Joseph Windley, followed by Miss Janet Smith.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, City of Fayetteville. It's an honor and a pleasure to be standing here before you this evening. I stand before you in support of 4-year staggered terms. I think 4-year staggered terms are better for us because it does save taxpayers money, regardless of how you look at it. And it gives us an opportunity to ensure that there's some continuity and stability as others are rotating out. With 4-year staggered terms, this stability and continuity would allow at least half of the city council to remain in place to allow the projects that have already been established and already been voted upon to hopefully continue to be worked. It's sometimes with new election, and let's assume, and some may say it is not possible, but let's assume that the whole city council and the mayor would not vote it back in place. Where would we be without somebody to help continue to see where we are and to continue the projects that have already been established? Because those that would come in would take time to look at the projects and maybe even start new projects of their own. I don't know of anything that says that the established projects have to be carried on by the new city council if they're not already in place or established. And these are things that we need to look at as well. Staggered terms, you'll have half here and half there. There are other cities in the state, Greensboro, Winston-Salem, Cary, that are already utilizing these things. And when we look at the things that are going on in the state, you'll see that there are changes on the horizon. Look at the Senate Bill 265 and 386. This is a moving trend, and why not keep up with what's moving forward? So I am definitely in support of the staggered terms. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak, and I pray that you all have a blessed evening.
Thank you, sir.
We have Miss Janet Smith, followed by Miss Maya Warren.
Good evening, Mayor Colvin, City Council members. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. I want to add my voice to those who have voiced their opposition to the idea of extending to a 4-year term. I don't necessarily think that it's a bad idea for the future, but I think it's a bad idea to do it without the voters approving it. It is a huge change to go from 2 years to 4 years. That is essentially doubling the length of the term that we voted you into office for. And I don't think a change of that magnitude should be done without the voters first approving it. If it's right for Fayetteville now, then put it on the ballot and let us say so. The fact that we rejected the idea in previous years doesn't mean that it wouldn't go by now. People do change, circumstances change. So that idea could be entertained again. There is going to be another election in not too long of a time. Put this issue on the ballot, and if it's rejected again, then accept that. Maybe in another 10 years, the idea will come to fruition, but not yet. So please allow us to vote, and thank you very much for listening.
Thank you.
Miss Maya Warren. Not here. Miss Angela Tatum Malloy, followed by Miss Sheila Coffey.
Good evening again. My name is Angela Malloy, and my address is 131 Hay Street. I brought my granddaughter up here because, she's visiting, and before the meeting started, she asked me a question, and she said, well, for one, she thought you were all mayors, so she was corrected on that. And she asked me, is this where they make up their own rules? Now, I promise you, she had no idea what we were talking about. I had not told her anything. And she said, because if they're going to do anything, they should do things that help people and not focus on doing things for themselves. This was out of the mouth of a 9-year-old. And so, I had a lot of things to say. The options. We know that it was proposed that this could be done without the citizens' input. We know that. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you need to do something. We know that it should be put to a vote, but we keep hearing about, saving money. This has been decided over and over again. It's not, as I've been told from, I don't know if I can say, the person who is in the middle of the room, it's not always a no, but just not now, or, we have to get more information. Just because the citizens are saying not to do something right now is not saying, ever. But we have too many things, the Office of Community Safety. There are things that we need to be focusing on and not looking to extend term limits. Also, I homeschool my kids. I train doulas. A lot of people say that I'm very particular in my expectations, and I am. And I think that, for one, it is really poor preparation if you don't come with doing some homework before you decide to run for a particular office. I don't understand anyone that would expect a certain amount of time, 3, 4, 6 months to get to know the job that they decided to go after in the first place. Just how we're coming to these meetings, you can come to the meetings and get to know the projects that are before the council in the city. You can look over all of the YouTube video meetings from the past and catch up. There are things that you can do where you don't have to require an additional 2 years. And like the young lady said earlier, you can get 4 years. 2 + 2 is 4. Do the work for your community and let them decide to have you come back and represent them. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Miss Sheila Coffey, followed by Mr. Richard Wiggum.
Good evening, Ms. Cuffey.
Good evening. Most of you know me. I am Sheila Cuffey, 6619 Brandon Way. I am an agent of change. I am a DEI advocate. I am your human relations guru here in this city and county. And I have a bad feeling about things right now. And I'm not going, everyone has pretty much said everything that I wanted to say. But I do want to say, when a council person says, because I can, I have issue. Because I can does not mean I should. Because I can is the mantra of the privileged, the authoritative, and the power hungry. Because I can is not conducive to good policy making, nor good human relations, nor public trust. Because I can says, shut up, because I know better than the voter what is best for them. Because I can says to me, you have no respect for our democratic process. Actions like this council and mayor is exactly why I voted against 4-year terms. It is about accountability. If I am not satisfied with your work, I have the power to remove you from office without an additional 2-year delay. If you, on the other hand, do what you're supposed to do, what you need to do, then and only then will you retain your respective seat. If money is the real issue, the cost saving can be aligning the municipal election with presidential and midterm elections, but not 4-year terms. I'm asking you not to circumvent the democratic process. I'm asking you to send this to referendum or just simply kill it. But I suggest to each councilman and woman to embrace the will of the people or find yourselves out of office because we can.
Mr. Richard Wiggum, followed by Miss Cynthia Leeks.
Good evening, Mr. Wiggum.
Good evening. My name is Richard Wiggum. I live in Wells Place, 1920 Oakview Drive, Fayetteville, North Carolina. Mr. Mayor, council member. Councilman Thompson is my councilman, and I understand people said that he is young, so he should let people make the decision. I'm in favor for it. There's always one lone person that comes around that people don't want to change, but give them a chance. But this is the thing. The previous council members on September 2019 gave them a mission, and on March 2022, I had to find out what it was that I asked him, and he said, I'll pass it on to him. So, change makes a difference. People come in, give them a chance. And the thing about it is, if it's going to save us money, I agree with a lot of people, but I don't know that much is going to save. If it's saved, it's saved. But you never know until you try it. And that's what I'm in favor for. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Miss Cynthia Leeks, followed by Miss Peggy Thompson.
Miss Leeks, how you doing?
I finally made it up here. Good evening. I hope everybody had a happy holiday. But you know what? I don't need to say a word. Because the citizens prior to me, first, I'm Miss Leeks, 701 Topeka Street, Mario B's district. Mr. DJ Hare, I line that district as well. Shakayla, that's my hood. I'm not even going to read what I wrote. I'm just going to shoot from the hip. Because, first of all, I'm been, 4 years is just too long. Okay? I've only been here 5. And I feel like you've been here, so it's just been here too long. But, I can change my mind. I really can. If it looks good and it sounds good. Some of the districts are doing wonderful, and I applaud you. But let's slow down. Like the citizens prior to me, we have a lot of other things to get to. I'm asked by people all the time, well, Cynthia, when are you going to run? What are you going to do? Why don't you go to the council? You know what I say? I like to hold you accountable. So if I find out something, I'm tired. I'm sick tonight. My sugar was 300 before I left the house. I shouldn't even be here. But you know why I'm here? Because I love my community. I love this can-do city. I love Murchison Road. I love my corridor. I love my neighbors. Even the ones that, since I've been president of Seabrook Brydale Neighborhood Watch, they call me all the time with issues, complaints, concerns. I try to help them, but I'm going to hold you accountable. And let's slow down. Let's get, this is, If it's already been visited 5 times before I moved here, let it go, y'all. Let's move on. Let's move on to something else. I want us to dig deeper into the Purchasing Road corridor. Okay? Thank you for bringing it forward. Thank you for having me. Love you all. God bless you. But let this one go. Let's work harder on something else of this time, okay? Let's move on. Have a good night.
Thank you, ma'am.
Miss Peggy Thompson, followed by Miss Nubian Mitchell.
Good evening, Ms. Thompson.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Peggy Thompson. I live at 516 Bravery Lane. I'm here for 2 reasons. Because 1 thing, my voice need to be heard. 2, just to show up, because that shows people in your community that you care. I won't say yay or nay, but I will say there's a quote somewhere that says, trying to do the same thing over and over again and expecting different results is called insanity. So what have y'all been doing over and over again that isn't working for the people? I hope to see change in the juvenile justice department because we need to focus on those areas because that's the next generation. And where I live, a lot of people don't get this information. And to send flyers and stuff out to where I live in a low income and quote, people called the hood, people that are often overlooked, we don't have an opportunity to get our voice heard. So whatever y'all decide, because it seems like to me, whether we say yay, nay, or whatever, y'all minds are already made up. But think about the people, and thank you for your time.
Miss Nubian Mitchell, followed by Miss Laquita Miller.
Good evening, Ms. Mitchell.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and everybody in attendance. Thank you for having me, allowing me to speak. I am like the other young lady. The folks before me pretty much said it all. I am opposed to a extension without a vote by the people. This is the people's city. This is not, no disrespect, the mayor and the city council's city. We have some new council people. And when you have a person that's new to a job and you can't reach them or their advice to you is put it in Fix It, or I may get to you in 3 to 5 days, but I'll eventually get back to you. We don't want to hear that. That's not why we elected you. And if that's what you're there for, then why bother? And I certainly don't want to not have the option to choose someone else if that's what I've been listening to for the last 2 years. So, thank you for your time. Please think about that.
Thank you, ma'am.
Miss Laquita Miller. Mr. Christian Mosley. Mr. Mosley. Followed by Mr. Jerry Reinhold.
Good evening, Mr. Mosley.
Good evening. I want to actually first off start by saying thank you to each and every one of you for keeping this space open, no matter what it is that your mind is made up on. You've allowed this space to be open for us to be able to voice our opinions, so I appreciate that. I want to first start by saying that politics is an exchange. It is not a gift. So my ask as a citizen, as a young tax-paying citizen in District 1, is that you do the work to get reelected before you ask for your terms to be extended. It is arrogant to assume that you deserve longer time without having tangible evidence of you serving your community prior to your political career or during your political career. And it is cowardly at best to say that this should be done outside of the democratic process. Now, if you want to save money or make more convenience for your elections or for yourselves, you should do what you have told millennials and Gen Z alike. Figure it out and pull yourself up by the bootstraps. Stop complaining. It's interesting, when I met Mr. Benavente, the first time I met him was in the streets. He was doing the work before he got in here. He's done the work since he got in, and if he continues to, we will make sure that he gets reelected. We currently have a community garden on Murkison Road because there's a food desert over there. This garden needs a well dug. It costs $30,000 to get that done because of the poison in the ground. They need water. Jada needs justice. The OCS needs to be put forward. There needs to be a tangible plan. There needs to be money and resources made available for that. And it needs to be done quickly. And when you're asked about a plan for the black community or the ADOS community, your response shouldn't be that you cut grass when you were 9 years old. You drive highways through our neighborhoods, through ADOS neighborhoods, American descendants of slavery, and you offer plans of beautification without economic reinvestment. I'm not here just to oppose the term limits. I'm here to say that your lack of integrity has been acknowledged and noticed. We are at for me, as a member of the Jewish or the Hebrew faith, we're at the end of the Passover season, unleavened bread. And during unleavened bread, you remove all of the leaven out of the house because it's a symbol of sin. And I am grateful that on this last night of unleavened bread, the leaven in this council has been identified. And we will do everything in our power to make sure it's removed. King Jones says, what's up?
Okay. Mr. Jerry Reinhold, followed by Miss Carrie Jackson.
Good evening, Mr. Reinhold.
Mr. Mayor, members of the Fayetteville City Council, good evening. My name is Jerry Reinhold, 516 Deer Path Drive, Fayetteville, North Carolina. Once again, I appear before you to speak against the proposed change of 2-year terms of office to 4-year staggered terms. Your packets provided much more detail than can be presented tonight. You may not be familiar with some of the information. Hope it helps in your deliberations. At every level of government, incumbents for re-election, even if they do a mediocre job, have an overwhelming re-election advantage. The framers of our Constitution set terms of office for members of the U.S. House of Representatives of 2 years so that members would regularly renew the public trust. Likewise, the 2-year terms of the North Carolina General Assembly members were not an accident. The UNC School of Government data in your packet shows the method of election for the largest North Carolina cities and towns. Charlotte and Raleigh still have 2-year terms of office. The handout includes stories of council member efforts in those cities to change to 4-year terms. In 2015, Greensboro voters approved a 4-year term of office referendum that became effective in 2017. But we are Fayetteville. In 2018, as was mentioned earlier, our voters in 59 of 60 precincts rejected a charter amendment that would change your terms of office to 4 years. The voters gave that mayor and council members a humiliating 2-1 defeat. This is not a partisan issue. I am concerned that 4-year terms can increase the risk of establishing a group of local career political elites who enjoy the pomp and circumstance and privilege of office with practically automatic reelection. What our local government does is a big deal. For most, the cost of local taxes and fees in our homes, cars, businesses, and every purchase takes a much bigger slice of their paycheck than do their combined federal and state income taxes. Remember, before considering a unilateral action without giving citizens a vote, in 2018, voters in 59 of 60 Fayetteville precincts rejected the proposed change by a 2-to-1 margin. This is not a partisan issue. While within your authority to make the change, should you go it alone, the people can voice their disapproval in this year's elections. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Miss Carrie Jackson, followed by Miss Juanita Gonzalez.
Good evening, Ms. Jackson.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Carrie Jackson, 205 Queensbury Drive. And I would first like to say, with respect to the cost savings, the last election, there was a gentleman that has spoke about the voter turnout and the use of the voting precincts. So during the last election, that was in July, there was 14,000 votes cast, 14,910 votes cast, and out of the 126,533 registered voters, the voter turnout was 11.78% for that voter turnout. And during that early voting season, there was only one actual voting site that was available, and that was at the Board of Elections, which was different from the previous voting election cycle, which was in 2018. 2018, there was also 14,000 votes cast. However, it was 14,289 votes that were cast out of the registered voters totaling 149,847. That voter turnout was 9%. So if you look at it, the voter turnout for the municipal elections has actually increased by 2% from the previous election. And so to add the, which I'm pretty sure, being that they only used one voting site, that the actual cost was brought down for that actual election. Now, in addition to the repeated denial by the voters, there is a resounding sound in unison today, echoing the sentiment of the city of Fayetteville citizens, minus 4 people. Any change to the governing body without feedback from the voters should not be done. And as it was stated earlier, prior to the opening of the public forum to the constituents and stakeholders of this great city, that if by any chance that the city council was to continue to make the change to the charter, that there can be a referendum brought forth by the city of Fayetteville citizens that would require the signing of over 5,000 votes. And I do believe that it has been a resounding sound that has come from every stakeholder in here, that if by any chance you do make this move without actually considering the voters, then the voters will make sure that you hear their voice. And it may not even actually make it to the election for you to actually have a choice. Because what if by any chance the referendum goes forth and you now have 7,000 votes that are against it, to not only reduce the terms, but to actually put a term limit for each citizen. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our final speaker for this item is Ms. Juanita Gonzalez.
Good evening, former councilwoman.
Good evening. Boy, do I miss this. I really do. But good evening to all of you. Juanita Gonzalez, 222 Wickford Court. I am here in opposition to this. I have been honored through this community that I'm the only person in Cumberland County who has sat on all 3 governing boards. And when I was elected to the Board of Education, it was for 6 years. When I was elected to county commissioners, it was for 4 years. And when I was elected to city council, it was 2 years. But never did it matter to me how many years I served. I was there to serve the people and do the business of the people. So it just doesn't really matter how many years you're there. You should be there doing the job that you were elected to do. Am I getting nervous? And then Also, I'm going to repeat, unfortunately, what a few people have said. I know it has been said that the first year that you're here, you're learning. Well, that's on you, because you should have been, as you were campaigning and deciding to run, you should have been attending meetings, you should have been doing your homework, you should have been listening to the people. That's on you to learn that. And you needed to learn Robert's Rules of Order so that you could have patience and self-control over during your meetings and not act, crazy during meetings. That's all on you. That's not on us. So, and then it said in your second year that you are worried about making political decisions. That is so wrong. That is so wrong. You should be continuing to make decisions that are right for the people, not for you. You're there for the people, not yourself, and you shouldn't be worrying about making political decisions. It's decisions that keep this a great city. We want a safe city. We want a clean city. We want a progressive city, and that's where you need to be putting your all your energy into, is doing that, not worrying about how many terms you're serving. So basically what I'm here to say is you need to do the job that you were elected to do. You need to do the job that you're getting paid to do, and you need to be worrying about the people and not yourself. Thank you.
Mayor, we have no further speakers.
Okay, so with that, we'll close the public hearing. We thank all of the speakers for your input tonight. Again, from this point forward, the council will make a decision that statutorily cannot take place tonight as to what the next steps are, whether it's a referendum, whether it's to do something else. But thank you all for your input. Thank you for your decor and your respect shown tonight to voice our points and our opinions. So this is what the process is all about. Council, with that, we'll take about a 10-minute recess. All right. If we could have your attention, please. Those in the chamber, if we could take your seats or continue to exit. Council meeting is back in session. Council, at this time, as we prepare to move to the next item, item 9.02, Mr. Freeman.
Yes, sir. Mayor, City Council, Taurus Freeman, Assistant Director of Economic and Community Development. Tonight, I'm presenting to you the Shared Active Transportation Program. As you all know, this item has been before you for numerous times over the past couple of years. Today, I will go over the who, what, when, where, and how, and why of the ordinance very briefly. Now, to begin with, the Shared Active Transportation Systems means a business that provides one or more shared devices for rentals where by design of the permittee, the shared devices are intended to be parked in a device operating area when not rented by a customer. Now, that definition is very important because you must understand that people can ride motorized scooters and electric assisted bicycles currently on our roadways. Now, these devices are, even though there are several different types, we are just going to be focusing on two. Now, the equipment for these devices, all of them shall have GPS systems, all of them shall have front, side, and rear lights, and each one shall be equipped with a bell or horn or any type of security hardware. These devices are prohibited along our public sidewalks. Now, our current code does not allow for a rider to ride them, but with our program, you can have them, but they can be on a docking station. They shall also be prohibited to block any ingress and egress and any type of vehicle parked on our public right-of-ways. Shared devices should not be parked in a way that impedes regular flow of traffic. Now, where they are allowed are within our proposed area. This right here is for our downtown. It mirrors kind of similar to what we've done with the social districts. The permittees shall provide docking stations at designated areas, and they can be operated from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. Now, a SATS permit is only valid for 1 year. With the application, the vendor must provide a plan of operation. So they must providing adequate levels of staff for operations, inspections and repairs, services, and adequate customer service. With that, they should provide a hotline that is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for 365 days, and provide a local office to operate between 8 a.m. and 5 p.m., Monday through Friday. They also shall provide reporting for data concerning ridership, frequency of trips, customer service complaints, any type of data regarding the system's operations. Now, regarding the ridership, we are encouraging that the patrons wear helmets. They must be 16 years of age. They must follow all of North Carolina laws, and they are prohibited to operate devices on our sidewalks per our ordinance. Now, our violations and penalties are very similar to what we do with other violations within the city. They shall be a $200 fine for the permittees if they violate any of our codes. Now, with the 1 year, the director or the administrator of the program has the ability to revoke or not renew the permit itself. And this is based on up to 10 violations, as well as customers operating the shared devices in a manner that creates an unsafe traffic conditions, cause a breach of peace, or public nuisance, violate any applicable state laws, or interfere with the rights of the property owners abutting the right-of-ways. And tonight, you all have two options. Adopt the ordinance for a period of 1 year. In June 2023, the action will be reintroduced to continue the program or rescind the pilot, or two, do not adopt the ordinance and provide staff direction.
Thank you, Mr. Juan Valdez. Good to see you. All right. With that, we will open the public hearing. Madam Clerk.
We have no speakers for this item.
All right. So with that, we'll close the public hearing. Do have a couple of questions for you. Councilmember Hare, Mayor Pro Tem, and then Councilmember Benavente and Jensen.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, go back to the one with right there with the helmet on. When and thanks for your presentation. Whenever it comes down to insurance liability,
yes,
is that something that will be relayed to the company?
Yes.
Or, okay. Tell us how that works. I mean, if you will, if it's any additional information you can share
just like
concerning that?
Yes, sir. They would need to provide us insurance, a bond up to $1 million, or whatever the current rate is that is set by the finance department. The permittees must supply that to the city.
So no liability.
There will be no liability to the city whatsoever.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Dawkins.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate the presentation. I've got 3 questions. Any revenue for the city, for instance, do they pay us a fee?
Yes.
They do?
Yes. So for any permit, there is a fee, and that fee will be determined. If this is approved, fee will be determined, and it will come back before you all during June when you set the fee schedule.
All right. And so, yes, I travel. Everybody up here travels. But whether I was in Charlotte this weekend or D.C. the prior weekend or Atlanta, Amsterdam, you name it, I've been all over the world, and I see these things. So I was talking to one of our employees, and I said, they must be making money. I mean, otherwise, if they weren't making money, those things would be gone. So is there any evidence that these things help generate additional revenue for businesses? I mean, I'm assuming they do. Because, people ride them to a bar, or instead of getting in a motor vehicle, they get maybe on one of these, and they go have a refreshment or two.
Well, with ours, they are only allowed on our public right-of-ways, which is the streets, not the sidewalks. So they have to abide by all the rules and regulations.
So if they appear inebriated, chances are
they can get stopped for
okay.
Dropping while intoxicated.
We used to have horses downtown. It'd be fun to watch a horse chasing one of these guys on a motorcycle.
Yeah.
And then lastly, would we, if this were to pass, would we contract, say, with Byrd, or I know Lime had a contract with Fayetteville State University years ago. I sat in on those meetings, and it went good for a while, and then it didn't work out, or Lime pulled out. So we wouldn't just limit ourselves to one particular vendor supplier.
No, sir. We can open up to however many vendors, whatever the market would support.
All right, and then last question is, if they don't take care of these scooters, I really like the scooters, and I doubt the ones I see people on, I don't see them wearing helmets, but maybe we can encourage that to happen. But I lost my train of thought. Well, it'll come back. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilmember Benavente.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for the presentation as well. This is an exciting prospect. There's just some indicators that a city is moving forward, is doing cool things, and like a lot of the cities that we're trying to get up to par with, I think having these types of devices downtown is a way to sort of showcase to everyone that Fayetteville's moving forward, and that we have cool things like this around. So my question is, what sort of outreach have we done to members of the downtown to ensure that everyone's on board, that everyone's concerns are addressed, maybe some polling with students, whether it's at FSU Methodist or FTCC, that say, hey, we're interested, we'd come downtown and ride around if we had this. Has there been that kind of outreach to make sure that we're addressing all those concerns?
Well, the first presentation regarding micromobility started in 2018. During that time, they did a presentation before Fayetteville State University as well as the city. Fayetteville State decided to move forward with a pilot program for 1 year. Fayetteville, the city, decided to wait till after the pedestrian plan was approved. The pedestrian bike plan was approved maybe a year and a half afterwards. We brought that back before City Council, and at that time, we had a series of meetings just to get to this point here tonight. Speaking with the Cool Springs Downtown District, we relayed the information to them. They sent it out to all the business owners. They conducted surveys on Facebook and the other social media sites. They received very low response for those surveys. And then in most parts, they were not able to give a recommendation whether to be for or against this ordinance.
Thank you. Councilmember Jensen?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, I have quite a few questions, and this has been going on for me for 5 years, and I don't know what the right answer is, because I have thoughts one way and I have thoughts the other way, and it is concerning to me that the downtown merchants have not come and said yay or nay of whether they're in favor or not. That is concerning to me. So thank God I have had the opportunity to be here for, as long as I have. So I'm trying to be part of the team to make, our downtown like everyone else, and that encourage that people go down there. So I have to ask these questions. I got the answer for the business owners. When you say there is no liability for the city and for the public out there, they cannot be put on the sidewalks. So as you're sitting outside having dinner at an outside restaurant, there's not going to be a scooter that flies by you on the sidewalk, correct?
That is correct.
So let's say they're in the street and they are not wearing a helmet. They are going down the street and there's a rock and they flip and they hurt themselves. You are telling me there is no liability for the city?
That is correct.
That we will not be sued?
That is
Ma'am.
Okay.
Ma'am. Thank you for
Okay,
thank you for the opportunity to speak up.
And I can tell you this about our ordinance. In looking at our peer cities, a lot of their ordinances were like 4 or 5 pages. Ours is 16 pages. We met as a group with various city departments. We made it as comprehensive as possible
Okay.
to get to this point where we are today.
So then my next question is, so what do we have? So we do it and we say yes and it gets approved. And it turns out to be a complete nightmare within 2 months of it. We are still locked in for another 10 months. Is there any way out of the contract? And when I say it's a nightmare, that we have a lot of, we are a young population. We are a young population.
So clarify something, Mr. Valdez. This is for the ordinance, which would be good for a year, not the contract, or is it both?
Well, the contract will be good for a year, but there's also stipulations such as the slide right here about we can revoke their permit if they're not following the rules.
If they're bad actors, okay.
Okay, okay.
If they're not following the rules, we can revoke it at any time.
Great. So then my other question is, when I think it was Mayor Pro Tem asked, can it be one group? Can it be 2 groups? So do we have anything in the ordinance? I mean, could we have 5 different companies that come and say that they want to come in if it's successful? Do we have something in the ordinance that we say, one business can have it, 2 businesses can have it, or 3 businesses?
We do not have anything in our ordinance which limit the number of vendors that are permitted, but the director or the administrator of the program has some leniency in that regard, because once a vendor submit an application, they are going to submit a plan of operation. They are going to tell us, hey, this is all the things that we're going to do to be successful, and then the city must approve that. So if we're not in agreement with it, we don't have to approve their permit.
So I guess my concern is, because our downtown is not a big downtown, but compared to bigger cities.
That is correct.
I think that's a fair statement. So if it does go well, you know, I would hate to have like orange scooters, blue scooters, white scooters, you know, different areas, and I was just wondering if you do for one, you have to do for all. And then the fee schedule, when does that come out? Is it kind of a permit for them, or do we get money off of each time it gets rented, or?
According to what other cities do, they do an application process and then they charge a fee for that application. Some cities, I've seen some charge as low as I think $250, some as much as $1,000.
So for the
and it depends on the number of, and some depend on the number of how many devices they have.
Okay, so, you know, a business can come in here, get their permit, have, you know, 50 scooters out there for about $1,000. Is that $1,000 a year?
It just depends on exactly how many devices
Okay.
they may have, and we have not reached that point. That is still something that, you know, once we come up with that fee schedule, so if this is approved tonight, we have a couple of months to determine exactly what that fee would look like, and then it will be presented back before City Council in June.
So it's going to come back to us again
Yes.
with, okay.
Just like every year where you all approve the fee schedules and the fines and all that, it will be tied into all of that.
Okay, all right, thank you.
All right, before I go to Councilmember Thompson, Madam Attorney, you had something additional to add about
I wanted
question.
to make sure that the council understood my response. Councilmember Jensen asked, could we be sued? Yes. What we are looking for, and what I think, Mayor, you keep calling him by the wrong name, and now I can't remember his name.
Taurus.
Mr. Freeman.
Taurus Freeman, better
Mr.
known as
Freeman.
Juan Valdez.
It took me a minute there. I was like, I know that's not correct. As Mr. Freeman stated in his presentation, and so again, I just want us to be clear, we will have a contract with the individual company, and we'll be requiring them to have liability insurance in the levels that he identified. But that does not mean that the city could not be sued or that we could somehow be liable. It is difficult for me to envision how that might occur, but I don't want the council to walk away thinking we can't be sued and/or conceivably that might not be successful. I certainly think off the top of our heads, well, we spent quite a bit of time working on this to try to address all of the potential legal issues, but that's not to say that something may not come about that we haven't thought about.
All right.
Or if I may provide just a bit of clarity to the questions that Councilmember Jensen had asked earlier. So the permit period is for 1 year. So they would pay that permit fee annually, and the fee will be brought back to you all with the budget when you are presented with the fee schedule. If you approve the ordinance tonight, that is done. It will not come back to you.
Okay. All right, Councilmember Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Freeman, I just have 2 questions. One is, how do we come up with the parameters of the district that you have outlined here? And 2, what is the distance of that district?
The distance, I do not know. I did not measure the distance. We came up with this district based on similar to what we've done with the social district. The only difference is we do not go down Green Street. With the social district, you can go down Green Street and getting this business here. We try to stay within the main parameters of our core downtown area, whereas you cannot go on Russell Street, you cannot go further down on Green Street to the intersection of Rowan. You can stay within the main parameters of our downtown.
Well, here's my...
Where the speed limits are 15 miles per hour.
I'm glad you mentioned that because that's going to be part of my next question. It's because, as Mayor Pro Tem stated, as we was in D.C., they have a lot of these bikes out there, and a lot of them. And they have bike lanes for them, mainly because everybody in D.C. are making harsh right-hand turns. And they have to yield to traffic that's making a right-hand turn. But I'm pretty sure we're not going to paint any bike lanes for these vehicles that can't be, for these bikes that can't be on sidewalks. And what would happen if they got hit if a vehicle was trying to make a right-hand turn and it was coming across the street?
Well, our SAT devices have to follow all the rules and regulations of all the traffic laws. They will have to stop. They will have to go the speed limit. According to what the information the vendors have provided me, they can set these speed limits to go a certain speed. They cannot, in areas, if you look here between Hay Street, from Winslow, the intersection of Winslow and Hay, down to Ray Avenue, that speed limit is 25 miles per hour. From Ray Avenue all the way down to Otis Jones, it's 15 miles per hour. So just like any regular vehicle, they would have to stop at all traffic stop signs. So we don't have any traffic lights in this area, so they just have to abide by all that. Well, except, no. So,
I just wanted to be clear.
Except here on Bow Street and Maiden Lane.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
All right. Councilmember Banks McLaughlin.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to add to Councilmember Thompson's question. It's no difference from riding a bike. I am an owner of a scooter, and a scooter is not meant to ride on the sidewalk. It's uncomfortable. Downtown, that wouldn't work because it's too bumpy. The average person with the scooters, we don't want to drive on a main road because it only goes 15 miles per hour. So I just wanted to put that out there. Other cities have been doing this for a while. It's sad that it took so long for us as a city to move forward with this. I hope with the support of council, we can go ahead and push this forward. Again, this is a way for our downtown area. You can get on a scooter, you can move around throughout the downtown area. I think it'd be beneficial to the business, just like it was mentioned. A survey has been sent out to the business owners downtown. And as you can see, we don't have anyone here speaking in favor or in opposition for this. So if there's not any other questions, I know council member wanted to, okay.
Yeah, we have a couple
Well, after
more.
that, he's making a motion, I'll second. Thank you.
All right. So, Councilmember Ingram.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I do want to back up a little bit, and I think this may, Mr. Freeman, this is this is the pilot that we are getting ready to go into, correct?
That is correct.
So, when this was brought to council last whatever it was brought to council for a few months ago, not even, yeah. So, the businesses were in opposition of it. They did not want a pilot at all. And I think while we are having this conversation, though they did not, show up, I think they didn't show up because we bypassed and said yes to a pilot. I personally ride scooters when I go out of town. So my quick question is, personal scooters. If somebody owns a personal scooter, they can do whatever they want to.
They have to abide by the rules and
By
regulations.
still
Yes.
the traffic laws, correct. The difference is in what's being proposed here is being able to allow a vendor to come in and somebody can rent one downtown, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So then my second piece is, so when I go to Durham and ride one, when I go to Charlotte, ride one, however, I see suitable infrastructure that will support the rideability of a scooter and bicycle. We have a ordinance that speaks against skateboarding on the sidewalks in the district. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So if we have that, and now we're talking about scooters, I would, as a skateboarder, want to ask, well, y'all need to revisit this skateboarding ordinance if we are to move this forward. And that's just my perspective and what I've received in email in question. But then my last question before I move to make a motion is that who's enforcing this? Because I can say right now, business owners are complaining about, little to no enforcement on scooters that are on the sidewalk, bicycles, and we are wanting to know who's enforcing, who is going to enforce it, because it's not necessarily happening now.
And this was a question that was discussed amongst our several departments, and enforcement will go to our police department, because this would be whether it be a traffic violation or something that is prohibited on our sidewalks. So we do have police presence within our downtown at certain times of the day.
I can't, okay. I just personally I don't see somebody trying to trace down somebody on a scooter, which could cause a traffic infraction. But, thank you.
All right. Councilman McNair, you had a question, a comment?
Yes, I want to know, do you have, if it's possible, a number of businesses are against the scooters?
We do not have that number, ma'am.
Okay.
Mayor Colvin, I'm ready to make a motion.
All right. Councilman Bennett, well, I think you had, Councilman Ingram had put in that, so I'll come to you. Councilman Ingram, you had the floor.
Thank you. So I would like, I move to not adopt the ordinance and provide staff come back with information on infrastructure, how we will move forward with infrastructure to support the scooters, whether that be racks, lanes, what does that look like? I think that is missing. I would also like for there to be some more aggressive outreach to the business owners, so that we could have a clear understanding and direction. As I said before, when this was initially, they were fully against the pilot program. So I would love for that to go back to them, the whole ordinance to go back to them and be able to get information back. Thank you.
All right, there's a motion by Councilman Ingram to deny the ordinance, not adopt. Okay, let me see, is there a second? All right, seconded by Councilmember Jensen. In discussion, you have a question, Councilman Mayor?
Yes, sir. Mr. Freeman,
Yes, sir.
whenever you had this discussion in making this footprint that we have here, where it's open to drive, was there any discussion with the downtown group this time? Was there any discussion with anyone to see how that they would be feeling and supporting this? Because this is going to be falling right into their purposely chosen tax district that's there to help support different things that they will be doing for that tax district. Was it anything brought to them?
I did meet
Downtown group?
I did meet with the board of directors for the Cool Springs district. We've met. They meet every month. They meet monthly, and we did bring this up a couple of times. And regarding this ordinance, we did not go over the proposed map with them because I didn't have it actually created at the time. So in creating the map, I wanted to mirror pretty much similar to what we've done with the social districts, as well as looking at the speed limit requirements for other vehicles. Now, keep in mind that scooters, electric scooters, and bikes can already operate along our city streets. So we're not prohibiting that. We're not allowing that. It's already, they can already do so within the district. What we're doing is saying a vendor can come in and they can have a docking station, and then they can park their scooters or their electric bikes on that docking station.
So if for more clarity back to me, you're saying that this business or any business like this, if they purchase their permit or whatever the specifications is for doing what they want to do in Fayetteville, they could go ahead and do that without where we are tonight?
They just could not park on our public right-of-ways.
Okay. Yeah, I still think I would like to hear from the business folk, but thank you, sir. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, so I have, during the discussion phase, first round, I have Councilmember Jensen, then Hondros, then Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the question that I have is, I'm going to go back to the legalities and the liability. So as I'm sitting here seeing the district, I do know that, on Hay Street, that the sidewalks are basically owned by the city. So if you go down to Person Street in that area, those are privately owned businesses. Some of it is. Am I correct in that it goes down past the courthouse, or does it stop in front of the courthouse? I'm trying to get my bearings.
It circles around Otis Jones Parkway and then goes up Bow Street. So it does not go past the courthouse, ma'am.
Okay, so it's not in front of the courthouse. Would they have to stop before they get there?
It would be on Otis Jones. So as long as Otis Jones goes, is that
Right,
left
for
turn?
Liberty Park?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right, thank you.
All right, Councilmember Hondros.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I heard mention of the Cool Spring District. Did we get any feedback from Downtown Alliance? Don't we have two downtown groups? That's one question. And the second is the footprint of this. I mean, if we're going to use scooters and or bikes, I would think this footprint should be expanded to include Festival Park. And this is 2 or 3 blocks, 4 blocks. You can walk this. Just observation.
All right.
Do you want me to answer the question?
Yeah.
Okay. We did contact the Downtown Business Alliance. I did send them a copy of the ordinance a couple of months ago. I did follow up with them last month and explaining to them that this item was going to come before the city council tonight, so they are aware of that.
Did they take a position one way or the other in favor or against?
They did not.
Okay. Councilmember Thompson.
Mr. Freeman, let me just clarify, let me get a clarification of Councilwoman Jensen's question. This is a pilot program, so as she stated, if it doesn't work in 2 months, we can still pull out of it, correct?
If they are violating the terms of the permit, yes, if we see that it is dealing with the public health, safety, and welfare of our citizens, and they are in danger, we can definitely revoke that. We can definitely revoke that permit.
Thank you,
and
sir.
not renew or allow any other permits.
And it doesn't cost the city anything for them to have their parking stations or anything, correct?
That is correct. They do have a process. If their permit is revoked, they can appeal that. It will go to the city manager for a decision. So there is a process.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, you good, Councilmember Thompson? All right, before I go to Councilmember Banks McLaughlin, a couple questions. One, if I have a bike, am I required to have liability insurance to ride my bike. Right? No?
No, sir.
All right. Am I required to do a lot of these regulatory recommendations from the scooter process?
As far as having lights and horns, no,
I'm a 9, 10, 12-year-old, 14-year-old kid with a BMX. I don't have to have, my parents don't have to have a liability policy made payable to the city. And if I fall on the city street, because it's a city street, but I can ride my bike on it, even though I'm supposed to abide by North Carolina law, can I sue the city, Madam Attorney? I mean, it's always a possibility I can sue you, but, right. So, guys, when we looked at this 5 years ago, you know, we were the largest city in North Carolina not doing this. We waited 5 years with delays, studies, and surveys, and here we are tonight. No public speakers. We've done this for 60+ months, and we're the largest city in the state not doing it. I mean, and we're talking about how we want to improve vibrancy and next generation and all of these wonderful things that we say during our strategic plan, but we are at a point now where it's time to make some decisions, and this is a critical area. So I hope that as we go our second round of this debate, that we would keep all of those factors in mind that we've crossed and replowed this ground several times. So, Councilmember Banks McLaughlin.
I just wanted to mention that I am one of the liaisons that sit on the Cool Springs board, and I did reach out to Bianca last week and ask her about the survey, because I do remember a survey going out to business owners and through the community, and I asked her what was the feedback, and she mentioned there were mixed, can't get my words out, there were thank you, mixed responses. You had people 50 and older saying, no, we don't want it. You have people 50 and under saying they love it. So again, I just wanted to put that out there to let people know that this wasn't it's not something that we just said we want to do. A survey was put out. Thank you.
All right. Councilmember Ingram, second round.
No, I just realized that the chair of Cool Springs Board was here, and I didn't know if she wanted to speak on behalf of the board or direction, which was mentioned in our conversations.
Point of order.
Yeah, well, she's not a part of the staff presentation today.
In future, it has been done.
Right.
So
Well,
I'm just, I can go off of what I've seen happen before.
Thank you, Councilmember Ingram. Is there another second round? Because we have a motion on the floor that we need to come to a conclusion on. All right. All right. The motion is to deny by Councilmember Ingram, seconded by Councilmember Jensen. Show of hands for denial. Those in favor of denying.
Mr. Mayor, with the recommended feedback.
Yes.
Okay,
So
thank
the
you.
motion is stated. Those in favor of the motion, show of hands. Oh, okay. All right. Those opposed to that motion, show of hands. All right. Motion fails. 2-8. Councilmember Benavente.
Thank you, Mayor Colvin. I move that we adopt the ordinance for shared active transportation system for the period of 1 year. In June 2024, the action will be reintroduced to continue the program or rescind the pilot.
There's a motion by Councilmember Benavente, seconded by Councilmember Banks McLaughlin. Any discussion on the motion?
I have a discussion, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Councilmember Thompson.
I would like for him to amend his motion to give us room that if the pilot doesn't work, that we can get to rescind the contract.
I think that's already established in the, so I'll say no.
All right. Any other discussion? All right, council, look to you for your votes. This motion is to adopt the said ordinance. Those in favor? All right. All right. Motion, those opposed? All right. So, Madam Clerk, that's 8-2 vote opposition, Councilmember Jensen and Ingram. Motion carries. All right. Thank you all.
Thank you.
All right. Item 9.03. Phase 5 Annexation Utility Project 23.2. Public hearing on the preliminary assessment roll. Good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, council members. All right. So my name name is Janelle Rocket. I'm the interim marketing manager with the Fayetteville Public Works Commission. I'm here tonight to review the Phase 5 annexation construction areas 23.2 and 24A. A brief presentation before we open the public hearing. Construction area 23.2, Ray Condo is 92 parcels. Project overview. I'll discuss events to date, the project schedule as it's occurred up until now, and then our final two dates as we move forward with the assessment rule. I'll review the cost of property owners and the financing options that residents have. For this area in March 2018, the survey and appraisal notification letters were mailed to property owners. In January of 2019, the council adopted the preliminary assessment resolution, and in February of 2019, the copies of the resolution were mailed to all the property owners. PwC advertised for construction bids in April of 2020. The construction was complete in June of 2022. Back in February of this year, we shared the preliminary assessment roll, which included the finalized costs to PwC and to all of the residents who were part of the 23.2 construction area. And after tonight, the council had the opportunity to confirm the assessments in May of this year. As a refresher, cost of property owners, residents who live in a typical single-family residential lot, it's a flat fee of $5,000. For non-residential and all of our properties, it's a per front footage rate of $556 for a 90-foot minimum, plus the average lateral charge. If customers do not choose to pay in full, they can opt to finance. The interest rate as set by City Council is prime plus 2%, as set in July of the fiscal year that assessment roll is confirmed, not to exceed 8%. Payment options, like I said, customers can pay in full. There's no interest in 30 days from the published notice. Or like I talked about financing, they can finance for up to a 10-year term. Payments can be made in annual or monthly installments. So for example, a customer who finances for 10 years at 6.75%, which would be the interest rate if the assessment is confirmed this year, would be approximately $58 per month. And I'll be happy to answer any questions you have at this time.
Thank you for that. With that, we'll open the public hearing, Madam Clerk.
No, we have no speakers for this item.
All right, with that, we'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Hare.
Thank you. Could you go back to and thank you for your presentation. Could you go back to the helps for, tonight we had citizens that came before us, and of course, we've heard it over the years. This is all of what we have to assist someone with their frontage fees, the typical, the $5,000 fee. Are these this is all that, the options and choices that they have?
Residents who are looking for assistance can direct questions to the City of Fayetteville Economic and Community Development Group, and they can answer any questions if there are any funds available to help with that assessment fee.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, any other questions? All right, council need action on this to approve the assessment or not?
I think, Mayor, this comes back to you.
Okay.
For actual action. This is just a public hearing tonight.
Okay, all right. Thank you, ma'am. We'll see you in just the next item, right?
Yep, one more.
All right, item 9.04.
Yep, so Phase 5 annexation review for construction area 24A. This is the Cliffdale Estates of 96 parcels. Again, we'll review events to date, the proposed schedule, cost of property owners, and the financing options are the same. So the events for this area in January of 2019, the survey and appraisal notification letters were mailed to the owners. In February of 2020, the council adopted the preliminary assessment resolution. In February of 2022, the copies of the resolution were mailed to all the property owners. Construction bids were advertised in April of 2020. The construction was complete in August of 2021. The preliminary assessment roll was sent to council in February of this year. And if confirmed, the assessments will be done on May 8th of this year. And again, same costs, $5,000 for typical single-family residential lots, $5,556 for any non-single-family residential lots, and the same rules as apply to interest and financing. Any additional questions, I'll be happy to answer them for you.
All right, so with that, we will open the public hearing. Madam Clerk?
No, we have no speakers for this item.
All right, with that, we'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Banks McLaughlin.
Thank you, Mayor. I know I live in, represent District 8, so a lot of the annexations, they're, working towards that area. But I brought it up some time ago as far as to see if ways that the city, if we can help with the finance. I do know that we do offer assistance, but hopefully in the future we can maybe change the eligibility requirements because many don't qualify. But my question is, first I do want to thank our staff because we do let residents know well in advance that the annexation is coming. In fact, years ahead of time. But my question is, what are the steps? Because we have individuals who purchase home after those letters were mailed out. So how are they aware of being assessed?
I can help.
Okay.
One of the things that we did as well is that we sent, I think, letters to all of the property owners, and we did send an address list to the realtors some time ago, but we can definitely go back and research that because it's been years and years and years since, but we did do those things. And I also think it may even be something that's required if we had a realtor, that people would have to disclose as well that there is a pending potential assessment out there for those properties. But that is a really good question, and I'd love to work with PwC for us to come back and give that as an administrative report to council.
All right. Any other questions, comments on this? Did have a quick question for you. Earlier tonight in the other public hearing, young lady made mention about being assessed for vacant lot.
Yes, sir.
I thought that was something we addressed when we were renegotiating the charter change or something that. So basically, if I have a lot that is not connected and you run your trunk lines by my property, I'm assessed regardless of whether I connect or not.
Correct.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, that is interesting. So, but keep in mind the money for the $5,000 connection through community development is only for low to moderate income people. So, council, as we look at all of that, so everyone will not qualify who asks for the $5,000. Other than that, it's a loan at max of 8%, prime plus 2, right?
Well, I mean, anybody can apply for financing, so that is not limited based on your income. But the assistance from the community support group with the city is limited to $2,000, or has been limited to $2,000 in the past.
Yeah. All right.
So, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, ma'am.
So going back to the assessment, what we do have to remember is I think it might be 20 years ago when we first started this, the people that got it 20 years ago paid the exact same amount than the people that are paying it 20 years from now. So 20 years ago, that amount of money was a lot more than it is right now. So just FYI if people know it.
All right,
Glass half full, always.
Council, can we have a motion? All right. Y'all have a good evening.